How's it going? I hope you're having a great week or have had a great weekend. But this week, I wanted to chat a little bit about another topic that come up in my Summer Strong group coaching program, which sadly is coming to an end this week. I really enjoyed doing that group coaching program. And if there's enough interest from people, I'll gladly do another group coaching program. So if you are interested in something like that, please let me know. I'd gladly do it again. Thoroughly enjoyed doing this group program. We had a great cohort this time and a great first experience for sure. But anyways, the question had come up in one of our last Zoom calls that we had as a group around, I'd like to call it like periodizing your nutrition program, right? And I think what we see a lot of times, or what I tend to see a lot of times, is people pushing through a diet when maybe it's time to take a break from the diet. And so let me explain a little bit more about what I mean by this. Say you start a diet and it goes great. You're doing great. It's been a couple months or a month or so, and you've been making great progress and you've been really adhering to the way you want to eat and things have been feeling really good. You're getting the results that you want. But then all of a sudden something comes up, right? A change of seasons, a change of lifestyle, just something that changes your life where there might just be, it's going to make it a little bit more challenging to adhere to your diet. So say, for example, you have a stretch of time where there's a lot of travel involved for your work, where you're going to be moving around, traveling from place to place over the next several weeks, to a month or so. And maybe you have some personal, social engagements in between travel and things like that. And really, it's just going to be a busy time of life. Like, I think everyone runs into this situation where life just gets busy. And what happens is we don't adjust kind of the stress on our bodies during these times. So we think, I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing. And that means continuing my diet, especially your diet, because you've been making such great progress. And what ends up happening is it ends up just being too much, or it becomes hard to adhere to the diet under the new circumstances. And the amount of stress and or the diet itself becomes impossible to do in this situation, right? And then you get frustrated and you backslide, and then you say, what's the point? And you give up, and then you just, go off the diet and you're back to where you started. And I think it's because people feel bad about putting things on maintenance, right? Or just on cruise control for a little bit. Right. So when I say give yourself a break, give your diet a break, and periodize your diet, I basically mean not to go off your diet, but to allow a little bit more flexibility in your diet. Maybe that means for you just adding a little bit more food back into diet, or adding back in foods that you've maybe taken out or eliminated and are okay for you, but you're just taking them out, I think, for sake of kind of eliminating calories, and there might just be enjoyment type foods. Or you're just cutting back on the amount of those foods that you're eating, or you're cutting back on maybe the amount of times you're going out to eat and stuff like this. So there's a bunch of different strategies that people take in order to tweak their diet to get to whatever goal they're trying to get to. And this can be the complete opposite way. It could be, if you're someone who's trying to gain size and gain muscle, you might be adding in a whole bunch of stuff, and that becomes fatiguing and overwhelming to plan, to eat, to constantly be trying to feel full and all this other stuff. And so it can go in both directions, right? In either case, you might be adding back in food. In some cases, you might be taking away food. But it's basically coming back to a happy middle ground where you can maintain. And I think the word maintain gets a bad rap because it seems like you're not doing anything. But I think that really maintaining, learning how to efficiently maintain your body weight, your body composition, what your diet looks like when you're in maintenance is the hardest part of changing your body composition one way or another. Because actually a lot of people, for example, can lose weight. Like, a lot of people lose weight, or they lose a lot of weight every year, but very few people are able to maintain that. So it's actually not the weight loss that's the problem, it's the maintenance that's the problem, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with just constantly pushing diet, pushing to lose weight, pushing to gain weight, and never saying, okay, I have this not so optimal period of life right now where pushing my diet to where I want it to go is not going to be beneficial for me. And it may end up in me backsliding from where I am. So I'm going to go into maintenance. And if you can get through that period of time without being any worse than where you were and just maintaining what you've had already accomplished and then come back, you're probably going to, that's where people are successful. That's the difference maker right there, because people can't maintain. They backslide. They try to push through. They try to keep going. Even though their body's giving them all the signs that they don't do this, right? It's time for a break. And I think what that's going to look like is just and this could just be, this doesn't necessarily have to deal with stressful periods of time either. It could just be just a prolonged stretch where your diet is really dialed in and you might just need to take a break and give your body a little bit of a reprieve. So you might have thrown together like 6 months of great dieting, but maybe after 6 months, it's okay to take 1 month off and just maintain what you've already given yourself and give your body a little bit of break in your mind, a little bit of a mental break, right? A little bit of freedom and not always be on point. And so I know people get afraid when they're hear this term of they can't do moderation. They have to abstain. They always have to be restricting and stuff like that. But then they said they abstain until they don't abstain anymore. Well, I'm like, that's not really abstinent, is it, right? Like are you really an abstainer if you can't maintain that abstinent? In my mind, I feel like that's not the definition of an abstainer. Like an abstainer is someone who abstains for indefinitely and can maintain that. But most people say they're abstainers and they can't abstain it. Learning how to shift the diet back into maintenance, which might mean not abstaining as much anymore and dealing with, okay, I'm going to allow a little bit more food. I'm going to allow myself to have some special nights out with my significant other and not worry about it, and just give yourself a little bit of more freedom in your diet, and learning how to give yourself freedom without necessarily just like it becoming a free for all, right? I say freedom, but I don't say free for all. Like this isn't like an all hands on deck, eat everything in sight. There's no rules at all. It's just adding back in a little bit more food or cutting back in on the bulk a little bit. So you don't feel stuffed, you don't feel overfull, you're not constantly chewing, or you don't feel constantly hungry, you don't feel completely deprived that you always have to say no to the cookie or to the extra serving of fruit or to going out with friends or whatever, right? Like giving yourself a little bit of break. And that I think provides a lot of sustainability. And that's why we see people who learn how to do maintenance successfully are able to maintain the body composition changes that they want over a long period of time. So I like to call this kind of diet periodization, or we can call it diet deloading. Like much if you're familiar with the term deloading, when you're training and exercising, you push really hard for several weeks and then you take a deload week to give yourself a little bit of a break. And then you jump back on the ball and start pushing hard again. And it's really just, when we talk about it with exercise, it's really just giving that body a little bit of time to recover so it can bounce back better. And the recovery is where like the gains are made. Like you get it all the time. Like it's not the workout that gives you the gains, it's the recovery and how well can you recover. And so we can think about this with diet too. It's not necessarily the diet that's always giving you the gains. It's how can you give yourself a little bit of mental break so that you can not feel so on the ball all the time and then jump back into the diet feeling invigorated and ready to go again and to buckle down and to go again. And so that's the way I like to think about that. I think that important concept to understand. I don't think that maintenance should be looked at as a failure or as a negative thing. I think that is the thing. That is where the gold lies in body composition changes, is the maintenance period, and mastering that maintenance period and giving yourself a little bit of a break so you can maintain what you've done and then jump back in with more enthusiasm and vigor and maybe a healthier body and a healthier mind is probably the key to long-term body composition changes. So just wanted to give that topic a little love. Again, something we talked about in my Summer Strong group coaching program. And as always, for all the content that you want to put out, and if you want to know next time that the group coaching program is available, please jump on the newsletter. You can go to rjbhealth.coach, click on the newsletter link at the top, enter your email address, and you can jump on the newsletter. If you're interested in more one-on-one coaching and mastering some of these techniques around how to do maintenance, if that's something you struggled with in the past and you always find yourself on the wagon or off the wagon and never able to maintain in between, I have a couple spots open for one-on-one coaching. So you can reach out to me directly. Let's talk about that. Or you can go to rjbhealth.coach, click on the schedule discovery call button on the homepage, fill out the form, and I'll get back to you. We can chat a little bit about that as well. And with that, I hope everyone has a great holiday here in the States on the 4th of July. I will be on vacation next week with my family. I won't be putting out much content for the next, say, week and a half because vacation time to take a break. But after that, I'll be right back to regular schedule programming. And